That's pretty.
Hello and how are you? Welcome back to Memes and Markets. Keith, how you doing, man?
Hey, yo, today's the best day of my life, Ben. How you living?
Today is the best day of my life, and I appreciate everyone joining us on the stream. Come on in, come on in. We'll say what up to people as they come in. Enzo, what's going on? Welcome, welcome. Keith, what are we chopping it up on today?
Today, we are talking about all of the hoopla going on the internet around artificial intelligence, AI, how it's potentially replacing the jobs. And at this point, the question is whether or not it's going to create an economic doom loop and what to do about that, how to prepare for it, how to make your life better in this world where there's a lot of doom and gloom.
There's so much of that, and it's also partially because it's great marketing. Like if the last 15, 20 years has taught us anything, it's that fear sells, right? And so we always have to take that into consideration when consuming any kind of media. That's something that I stress all the time, and that's present here too. And so what we're going to try to do that I don't see enough people doing is we're going to walk through what's being said, all of the headlines, all of the bad, and try to come with a dose of perspective and maybe some optimism too of like, how does this end up amazing for us?
For sure. And it's cool because there's very clearly both potentials, right?
Oh,
And what we're looking at. So
for sure. And I think that a lot of it comes down to us, right? Because as these things get more and more decentralized or open source, which I think is likely to happen, then it really comes down to like who are we, right? Because like we have a lot more say in a lot of this than I think that we think that we do, and that's also part by design too, like understanding the incentives of the message spreader. If I'm to build a system that can potentially control everyone, wouldn't I want everyone to believe they have no choice or have no chance?
mhm.
Right. So I think that plays a big role as well. Someone saying audio trouble, bet on Chris. And then we also had audio's fine. Cool.
Okay, cool.
Thanks, RD. And then we have someone who it's their first stream ever. The
Oh, let's go.
Quaz said, first time live. It's 4 a.m. Well, you should probably go to bed, but we appreciate having you here.
Yeah, this is it's a tough time to be joining us unless you're waking up. If you're waking up, then great way to start your day.
Yeah.
But no, there was something that you said right at the end of what you're saying there too that I was going to talk on. Oh, man, it was something about like the abundant side of things. Well, we can kind of go ahead and start to dive into it because I think that will lead me to where I'm trying to go.
Let's do it. So they're still saying volume. So can you guys specify whose volume is the problem, and we'll try to adjust our mics accordingly?
Volume.
I think we're good. You go ahead, Keith.
Cool, man. So, look, job market right now in the United States is definitely not super hot. So at this point, people are thinking about like, okay, what is going on, right? And how do you find an opportunity in this? A lot of young people reaching out to me like, Keith, what do I do? Like friends and people who are of the pod and stuff. It's like, it's wild.
Dude, I feel so bad for really young people, man, because they also haven't had the experiences to weather a storm like this either. Do you know what I'm saying? Like we're a little older. We've been through more stuff. We've seen more of the world. And so we have some more agency. Like I think about when I would have been their age, I'd be freaking out too, man. How could you not?
100%. I mean, it's already one of those times in life where you've got a lot of anxiety. You're trying to figure out what you're going to do next. If you've made the right decisions, and there's no reinforcement right now that you've made the right decisions. It's all, no, actually, maybe you shouldn't have listened to all the people who told you what to do with your life and so on and so forth.
Yeah. And that's also a big reason why we started this show, was try to be a bit of a counter force for that, because it's easy to grow a media entity through fear. It is substantially easier. People do it all the time. We do it here and there. We try to not be doomsday, because even if we pull you in with doomsday, we try to give you content that isn't that.
Right.
And so that's also a very big thing to consider, and also the economics of it all is that these people who are funding this, everyone's now in bed together of like the people with a ton of money. So many people are banking on this becoming what everyone is being told it could become.
Hmm.
Right. As soon as you get funding into this, now they're financially incentivized. And most of these real players, the public doesn't have access to. So
That's fair.
it's such a weird situation. Like the global elites are like, push it forward. And then all the public is like, no, don't. Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
we don't have any upside in it.
that was the other thing I was going to say a little bit earlier. Is like part of this. Uh, we'll dive into it later, but part of this could come down to if things were to get really, really bad,
Mhm.
like people are gonna do something about it. Like there's gonna be problems for people to face, you
They
know?
Yeah, I think they've gotta do something to remedy that situation because I don't think we're that far from that. Like, I'm seeing stuff happening from the youth in Florida in particular, where people are going and, like, hundreds of these kids are just going and causing, like, problems at public events and stuff like that
Interesting.
because and I think if you don't improve the situation, if people feel this helpless, what else are they going to do?
Yeah,
And also, if people feel like helpless, then what really ties a lot of this social contracts together is like a degree of order, right? Where there's people that don't do things because of the repercussions off of that. But
mhm,
if the normal scenario is still terrible, a lot more people are going to be willing to do something that could potentially get them in trouble because they don't care.
100%. So to put some numbers
Yeah.
to what's happened over the past year, we saw Gray, excuse me, Challenger, Gray, and Christmas, which has they do economic data and research. They said that in 2025 there was about 1.2 million job cuts. Okay, according to the year-end job report, and now this tracks the announced planned layoffs, usually from larger companies and public announcements that are being made. So it doesn't necessarily count every single termination, but you don't necessarily need that. You just need to look at how did that compare to the year prior. And the 1.2 million job cuts that we saw in 2025 represents a 58% increase from 2024, when employers had announced 761,000 job cuts. So the 2025 number of 1.2 million job cuts is the highest annual that we've seen since 2020, which was obviously the year of the public health crisis. And on top of that, this is the seventh highest that we've seen since 1989, and it is approaching levels that we saw in 2008, which was 1.22 million job cuts in 2008. So we basically just went through a financial crisis last year, levels of layoffs. And, you know, the whole debate here is that that's not showing up in the GDP, right? When we look at the GDP, uh, it hasn't really pulled back that much in the United States. Um, and so people are kind of like, what's going on? Like, how could you have normal GDP growth and yet have millions and millions of layoffs? Because this is kind of just looking at GDP growth quarter from quarter. Q1 last year was obviously negative due to the tariff situation and the net import exports that were happening at the time. But in general, it's not like you just see like constantly contracting GDP. I mean, we'll see how this continues to shape up. But um, what they're calling this is ghost GDP. And so we'll dive into all the stuff that's going on because we've got the Citrini research article that came out. We talk about marketing. How many eyeballs and new clients have they gotten over the past 24, 48 hours? I'm sure they're getting a lot. So you got the Citrini research article. Everyone's probably at least heard of it. We'll show it and talk through it. And it calls out this concept of ghost GDP, meaning these companies potentially are continuing to raise their profits and get their revenues up and up, but that's not necessarily showing up in the actual economy where people are actually making money, spending money, and enjoying their lives any better. It's just profits going to companies and productivity going to the companies and the owners
Mhm.
of these companies. So, um, basically, to zoom back out, right, or zoom back in, I guess, to us as individuals, like, what does all of this stuff really mean for us? What parts of the economy might be safe? What parts of the economy might not be safe? I'll do a quick breakdown of different parts of the economy in the United States, and then we'll dive into these articles and what people have been saying. And anything that you wanted to
No,
say,
go for it, man.
cool. So, in the United States, The big conversation right now is that the majority of our economy is a services based economy, which is something that has changed right over the past 50 or so years. Around 77 to 80% of US GDP is in the services economy. And when we say the services economy, we're thinking things like professional services such as legal. You can also think of things like finance, healthcare, information technology, even transportation, retail, education, and entertainment. Okay, and this is also representative of about 80% of US employment as well. Now, on the goods side, you got 20% of US GDP coming from that. And this is anything including manufacturing, agriculture, mining, and construction. Now, the idea right now is that AI, right, is coming after the more services sector, right? So everyone's concerned because that's the largest part of the US economy. And if AI is coming for the services sector, for the white collar jobs kind of a thing, then it can be a little bit more wonky of what happens next because that could potentially have massive deflationary impacts and that creates a whole doom loop. We'll talk about it. But on the goods side, right, people need goods, right? We need food, we need agriculture exists in that space. Um, Manufacturing, mining, construction. We need homes to live in, things like that, right? So that's not going to go away because of AI. So it should be somewhat safer. So for people who are looking for employment opportunities, you might think, okay, well, first off, what pies might grow versus not, okay, and then also which are less ripe for disruption when it comes to technology. Which I mean, there's a lot of debate to be had
Mhm.
around that. In the services economy, I would argue that although AI will continue to innovate in there first, it's also more likely to provide more growth there too. Like the new jobs that come in would probably be in that side of the economy versus the goods side of the economy. It might be worth arguing that any jobs that do eventually, it might have more of a moat now because of
Mhm.
robotics being behind. But once they do get there, will any of those jobs really come back or will they grow in that side of um, the economy as well? What up, Thomas? Um, so, anyways, what I will do is show a quick visual of the US GDP by industry so we can kind of just get a little bit of an eyes on what exactly this looks like today.
Mhm.
So you can see one of the bigger ones is professional business services at 3.5 trillion. You have 2.9 trillion in real estate being a massive part of it at 3.3 trillion. This is transactions as well as obviously
Mhm.
the assets themselves and whatever industry around that. Healthcare, health, social education, 2.3 trillion, finance and insurance at 2 trillion. So just some ideas of just like what does the economy actually look like when you visualize it. And then over here, you can kind of see the percent of GDP that all of these different sectors make up uh, in a more table sort of a format. But let me point to some more of the data around what's happening, which is that right now we're seeing around 42% of recent college graduates are underemployed, which is the highest level that we've seen since 2020. And we're seeing that Goldman is predicting that there's going to be massive displacement in the work hours specifically that people are spending. So generative AI, according to Goldman Sachs, could automate up to 25% of work hours in developed economies, potentially displacing 6 to 7% of the US workforce, which is 1 in 20, right? A little bit more than 1 in 20, 1 in 19. McKinsey, okay, large consulting firm, indicates that current AI technologies could theoretically automate over 50% of US work hours, but that wouldn't necessarily directly translate to job losses. Okay. So, point being, I saw Mark Andreessen talking about this. Mark Andreessen, yeah,
Mhm.
um, where he makes the debate that tasks will be automated, but that won't necessarily eliminate the job. And he gave an incredible example of an assistant. He said, "What did an assistant do for the CEO 30 years ago? Maybe that's too far back. 20 years ago, she would write emails for the CEO or for
Mhm.
an executive, like almost like a scribe, like taking notes in meetings and like doing all of that. But like the assistant hasn't gone away, but the CEO writes his own emails now and schedules whatever. She'll manage the schedule now, or he or she, the assistant will manage the schedule now. they will do different things, right? But they didn't lose their job. So that's one of the other ways of looking at, like, okay, yes, tasks and work hours might change, but that doesn't mean that the job will necessarily go away. But anyways, just wanted to run through some of the data, some of the high levels of like what's going on in the economy, different things to be keeping in mind as we're going through all of these articles where people are talking about what's they expect to come next for the economy and whatnot.
Yeah, no, totally. I think that that was great foundational knowledge to come into the conversation with, to see the numbers behind everyone freaking out. I think the manufacturing piece is always interesting because what's up?
I'm just not on my mic at all.
Oh, okay. That's what they were talking about.
Yeah.
It's all good. You still sound fine to me, so I think you're okay. Yeah, you're it's fine. We're good. Yeah, but for the manufacturing stuff, I think a lot of people think that if America just gets their manufacturing back, that that's going to lead to a lot of jobs. It's like this stuff's been automated for a fairly long time. It's only getting increasingly more automated in the manufacturing side, right? Like they've done pretty well on that. My third internship ever, I was at this. I interned at this club for Canadian CEOs, and they had our yearly conference. We had in people from all over the world, and there was these people in there from, I think it's one of the major like manufacturing companies in the world. I don't want to misspeak and say the wrong one, but like big name. Most people would know that they existed. I think they're from somewhere in Europe, but they came to talk about the Internet of Things and automating all of this stuff. So I'm in a room of like all of these CEOs and stuff, and I put my hand up and I'm like, if this goes this way, like what does everyone do for work? And they're like,
Mm.
we hadn't really like thought about that. I'm like, what? I actually couldn't believe it, bro. I was like, that's crazy. That was, I want to say 6 or 7 years ago now, but they were already at the Internet of Things phase of automating manufacturing back then. So it had to have gotten a lot further. So I think that's important to distinguish, right? Is that manufacturing, even if it came back to America, is not going to lead to a ton of jobs, for one. Two, the job transformation thing I think is really important to discuss, is that it can radically transform a role, right? And I think allowed people to be a lot more productive. And one thing that I thought of when you're doing that is that in a good scenario, which I'm sure we'll talk more about later, is that you could essentially create like tokenized, even temporary ownership of potentially of the upside of businesses pretty easily now. And if some companies start to do that and then their workers are a lot more productive, that may become the industry standard. Obviously, it's a best case scenario, but I'm sure a lot of companies that are smaller will be willing to do that more so, right? And so it's not like they're locked in there forever if they just leave, but I think there's definitely an opportunity to do that. Where do you want to take things next?
Yeah. So I'll start to dive into some of these, the research that's been done, or rather, these articles that people have been putting out that have been breaking the internet over the past 48 hours. And I wanted to also respond to that too, because it just reminds me of. So I read a book and a collection of essays a couple of years ago by Andrew Carnegie, a titan of industry in the United States, one of the foundational sort of capitalists. And one of the essays, or multiple of them, were about this concept of labor versus capital. And one of the things that he was arguing for at the time was to find a way to make sure that employees have access to the upside of the company. Now, to be fair, it was so cool because, like, you got to think about it. This was like late 1800s, so this is before you had like stock options and like all of these different like unique vehicles for how to actually make that
Mhm.
happen. So his writing was about, allowing employees to participate in the revenue, right, of the company itself, rather than just getting paid a wage. And so that thinking and some of that writing was the foundational piece for what those structures would look like in the future. And this is kind of the big debate. It's the exact debate, the exact problem that we're looking at now is labor versus capital.
Mhm.
Uh, if the capital is where all of the gains are accruing, then, and we've seen this in the data in the United States, where the labor share of GDP continues to decline. Okay, so the labor people are not getting paid as much as essentially the economy is growing, and with the profits that are being produced. We've seen also detachment from labor. Excuse me, from productivity in wages, as well as a more clear indicator of what I'm trying to refer to. And this actually comes up in some of the research. We'll talk about that in just a second. But I just wanted to point out that this is an age old debate that used to actually lead to straight up wars.
Mhm.
In the United States, there was times where there would be strikes, but these strikes turned violent, and security forces were deployed. And it was literally, you had in the streets, like the military had to come in and stop. these employers from shooting their employees because they were trying to burn down buildings and stuff. So, uh, crazy part of American history, and it was not that long ago, to be clear. So, um, moving forward, we saw a guy named Matt Schumer come out and release a piece, and he
One
says, "Go
Okay,
ahead."
go ahead, go ahead. You're good. Take this, and then I'll add on to what you said before.
Oh, you can go ahead.
I was just gonna say that I was thinking about this literally last night about how like tech is so similar to like the oil barons, and attention was the new oil, and they've been extracting that the whole time, right? And that's what people didn't understand when they're like when people would say you are the product. It's because I don't think people grasped how much of their reality is manufactured through attention. Like that's a very difficult task for someone to grasp because the only reason you don't believe that is because it worked.
Mm,
Do you know what I'm saying?
mhm,
Right. And
mhm.
so you think about it more and more, and you're like, it's only playing out very similarly. They always say history doesn't repeat itself, but it certainly rhymes. That was like a glaring one thing, like comparison to me. But go ahead.
Very nice, man. Love that. Yes, I will. So I'll pull up this article. So Matt Schumer, he is here on X. He is a founder, I believe, of an AI company as well as investing in other AI companies. And he said that something big is happening. Okay, 116,000 likes, 85 million views.
People eat this shit up on Twitter, man.
I'm trying to see like when did he actually publish this because that's crazy numbers. So this was February 10th. So this is a little bit further back. And so basically what he's talking about is like, look, I'm on the inside. He says he thinks that we're in this seems overblown phase of something much bigger than what happened in 2020 with the public health crisis. He spent 6 years building an AI startup and investing in the space. He lives in this world, and he's writing for the people in his life who don't. His friends, his family, the people that he cares about who keep asking, so what's the deal with AI? And he feels like these people are getting an answer that doesn't do justice to what's actually happening. He keeps giving them the polite version, the cocktail party version, because the honest version sounds like he's lost his mind. And for a while, I told myself that that was a good enough reason to keep what's truly happening to myself. But the gap between what I've been saying and what is actually happening has gotten far too big. The people I care about deserve to hear what's coming, even if this sounds crazy. So I'm obviously not going to read this whole thing out, but I wanted to kind of like frame where he's coming from.
Mhm.
And so, and then Ben, you and I were talking about this beforehand. He's like, I should be clear about something up front. Even though I work in AI, I have almost no influence over what's about to happen, and neither does the majority of the industry. The future is being shaped by a remarkably small number of people, a few hundred researchers at a handful of companies, OpenAI, Anthropic, Google DeepMind, and a few others. And a single training run managed by a small team over a few months can produce an AI system that shifts the entire trajectory of the technology. And most of the people who work in the space are just building on top of foundations that they did not lay. They're just watching this unfold the same way that we are. So um, basically, the argument that he makes throughout this article is that, look, I'm the one who got displaced, right? I've seen what happens when you get laid off. And when he's seeing these new models come out, it's not what we're used to. So he basically makes the argument that back in 2022, when everyone started using, or 2023, whenever it was, people started using OpenAI and ChatGPT, like, yeah, it was like this clunky thing. It was cool. It was kind of like an alternative to Google. But what's happening now is that the people who are still caught up in that old world, this is his argument, okay? I'm not saying this is the case. The people caught up in that old world, right, are not understanding that these models are not search engines. These models are building things. These models are thinking. These models are getting to that point. And each one of these releases is something that completely changes what what this stuff even means to society. So he said on February 5th, two major AI labs released new models on the same day. You had GPT 5.3 Codex from OpenAI and Opus 4.6 from Anthropic. And he said something clicked for him, not like a light switch, more like the moment you realize water has been rising around you and is now at your chest. So he says he's now no longer needed for the actual technical work of his job. So he gets to the point where he's describing like these things kind of are getting to the point to where it might be able to accomplish things like judgment and taste, right? The things that we are trying to say are going to be the moats that human has over this technology. He's like, but no, these things are doing something that feels like judgment and like taste. Um, He says he's always been early to adopt these tools, but these months have shocked him. Uh, and essentially, that's the thing that he's trying to say. So watching AI go from, oh, this is a helpful tool to, oh, this does my job better than I do, is the experience that he thinks that everyone else is also about to have. So you're talking about law, finance, medicine, accounting, consulting, writing, design, analysis, and customer service. Not in 10 years. The people building these systems say 1 to 5 years, and some say less. And given what he's seen in the last couple of months, he thinks less is more likely. So this was the point where he was like, "Look, but I tried AI and it wasn't that good." He's like, "If you tried ChatGPT in 2023, you was like, this stuff just makes things up. It's really not all that impressive." And at that time, that was true. But that was ancient history in AI terms, right? A couple years ago, things have been evolving massively. The major thing here is that you're talking about people who might be thinking in linear terms when dealing with a technology that is exponential.
But exponential on what basis? Right? Like they're cherry picking what they test. So like
Mhm.
every day they say it's this time much better. It's like according to what? They're making up the numbers. It's like me writing a test and giving myself an A plus.
Right,
That's
right.
ridiculous. Like I wanted you to keep going, but like I got to cut off here because like he's saying all this and he's saying I have no control over this. What are you talking about? Like that tweet is creating the perception, right? If we agree how these systems get implemented, if we all just think that this is going to happen, we're going to lose all of our jobs. In turn, he's helping create that reality.
So I love that you've made that point because that is a nuanced piece of the conversation that on the outside of this article uh, is being had of like, oh, like let's talk about the models and how they're performing and these new metrics that are being created and these new tests or tests that are at least being used to measure the efficiency of these algorithms and whatnot. Um, but I think the point that he's trying to make is much more anecdotal, right?
He also runs multiple AI companies.
Very true.
So like, yeah, he runs one that writes content. Like this is advertising for his business.
Oh, we haven't even gotten to the ad part yet, but we'll
Okay.
get to the ad. so, so, but to what I think he's trying to accomplish here, the idea is this is the anecdotal piece of it
Mhm.
all, right? So this is what I'm seeing and how it's
Totally.
changing. So,
And it's probably accurate, but I think it's
Mhm.
important for people who
Yep.
aren't in this world to like think about his incentives for writing this piece.
100%. 100%. It'll be pretty funny to see what the ad is at the end. So part of the problem is that most people are using the free version of AI tools, he says. So kind of already set you up here. The free version is over a year behind what paying users have access to. Judging AI based on the free tier ChatGPT is like evaluating the state of smartphones by using a flip phone. The people paying for the best tools and actually using them daily for real work know what's coming. So he was like talking to his friend. He kept on trying to tell him, like, look, dude, take this stuff seriously. And there was some other lawyer who was high up enough who was like, yeah, like, what's going on? Let me figure this out. So, so yeah, he does go into some of the metrics. He says there's an organization called METR that actually measures some of the metrics with AI using data. Um,
Have you one thing that's kind of not too connected but kind of funny is
mhm.
when you used to watch car ads and it'd always be like they won best in class for like this, and they own the company that's
Yeah.
giving them the best in class.
That's a good one. That's a really good analogy, man. So, if you extend the trend, we're looking at AI that can work independently for days within the next year, right? So, basically, that's another thing that he's trying to say is um, also AI is starting to build the next AI. So, he said there's one more thing that's happening that is the most important development and that's the least understood. On February 5th, OpenAI released GPT 5.3 Codex and the technical documentation. They included this. They said, this is our first model that was instrumental in creating itself. The Codex team used early versions to debug its own training, manage its own deployment, and diagnose test results and evaluations. So he says this isn't a prediction about what might happen. This is OpenAI telling you right now that the AI they just released was used to create itself. One of the main things that makes AI better is intelligence applied to AI development, and AI is now intelligent enough to meaningfully contribute to its own improvement. So Dario, the CEO of Anthropic, says AI is now writing much of the code at his company, and that the feedback loop between current AI and next generation AI is gathering steam month by month. He says we may be only 1 to 2 years away from a point where the current generation of AI autonomously builds the next. Okay. So he then goes into like, what does this mean for your job? Dario, the CEO of Anthropic, has publicly predicted that AI will eliminate 50% of entry level white collar jobs within 1 to 5 years, he says. Anthropic is going public this year, correct, Ben? Something
I
like
think
that.
they're trying to.
Yeah, they're trying to go public this year. So we have mentioned that, right? He's making big claims, and that is to the benefit potentially of his own company.
A lot of this is alchemy, brother. Like, because they need a story to rationalize irrational behavior, right? And so you need to manufacture this to then get everyone to feel like this, to put the money where they need it. So, like, I think a lot of this stuff happens, but I think you also have to be very aware of like how much they need everyone to be afraid.
Mm.
Because they're doing stuff that makes no sense. It doesn't make dollar sense. It doesn't make people sense. It makes no freaking sense. So you have to scare the shit out of everyone because it's the only way this could possibly make sense.
And so why does it not make sense?
They're not making money. They're banking all of this on what everyone, they're trying to convince everyone that what they're saying is going to happen will happen. And that's the only lens where any of this makes sense, right? It's always the assumption of like, when this happens, you haven't even proven it can happen. So like, I see what Thomas is saying is like, I totally agree. AI is going to be transformative to our lives. People are using it very incorrectly, but why can't this be a democratizing technology? Like the positive thing that we'll get to in a little bit is like, of course, they're going to be like, you're helpless because you could also use this to become less reliant on people and things too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very, very good points, Ben. The reality is the valuations of these companies, the amount of money that's being raised is 100% based upon a reality that is not necessarily the case.
It is purely emotion, right? Because people make decisions based on emotion and then they attempt to back it up with logic. Right? We're seeing that happen in real time. Get people scared, and then once they're there, hit them with the logic. It's sales every single time.
And one thing from the financial side of it too is like VCs, right? Their job is to try to do that, is to try to get ahead of what's happening in the future and make these investments. I think what's so different about this deployment of capital into this is that it's also coming from the actual juggernauts, right? So Google, because they're Google, can raise money from large institutional investors in the form of a bond, right, in the form of a debt issuance, which is very different from Mark Andreessen putting a few $1 billion into OpenAI as a venture play.
Mm-hmm.
So really, like a lot of these really big companies, which they always are to some extent, you have R&D spending that they all have, but Google and Microsoft and all these companies are becoming like tech. They're becoming startups in their own way. They're becoming like these companies that are valued based upon their potential future versus what cash flows they're actually bringing in at the moment. Um, to an extent, obviously they have the cash, otherwise people wouldn't give them the money. But
But
the cash isn't coming from the business line that they're raising the money to go out and pursue.
but not only that, when they hold that much of the S&P 500 and so many people who are currently rich, their livelihood and their wealth is wrapped up in the success of the S&P 500, everyone is in on it and they don't even realize they're in on it. Because they basically have unlimited resources to funding, because what can they say to everyone else? If you don't give us this funding, the whole S&P 500 falls.
Right.
So
right.
you're going to give it to us. Do you know what I'm saying? Like people aren't thinking about this holistically.
Yeah. And so what there is a chance for is for the technology and the use of it to catch up to the narrative,
Mhm.
which is always what these tech companies are trying to accomplish to some degree. You're trying to raise every company trying to
Mhm.
raise money to create a future, and then if you fill that future, then you win. If you don't, you go bankrupt, or you at least lose a lot of money
But
in the medium term.
the people building this have tools that have never existed before, and most of them they own. If this is really a game of perception, what shapes global perception are tools that they have immediate access to and control.
What are the tools?
Google, YouTube, so any of these social Facebook, Meta,
Okay,
Instagram, right? Like the
that's an
people
important.
building this stuff are owning the tools that shape our reality. So like the point that I wanted to touch on here was that What a sale says. I believe that the rich will have access to a different AI model that is better than normal people. Advantage rich people again. Yes. Who was it on Moonshots? One of the guys there, I think it was Dave, had said that it is kind of crazy that the everyday person like Keith, you and I have access to the best models that we're aware of on the market for a pretty inexpensive price point. And he's basically saying that will be turned off at some point. And I would
Mm.
agree with that completely. I think it's probably already happened in the background. But yeah, it's definitely interesting to think about. It's also why I don't think anything could be as doomsday as they're making us out to believe that it could be, because yeah, I'll leave it at that. But you go ahead where you were going to go next.
Well, so I mean, directly to respond to that too, because there was I think it might have been in this article actually. It was like $200 a month, and you've got access to this crazy opportunity. I don't know if it was in this article. He kind of makes it. Yeah, we'll come back to it. But imagine that it is $200 a month, right, to
Mhm.
really participate at the highest level of the models, which for someone who owns a business that's cash flowing and profitable and whatever, like it's not a ton of money to be able to use that in your business. But to the everyday person, $200 a month might be an extra bill that might
Too
not be
much.
affordable.
No, without a doubt. That's enough to make it not accessible to the majority of people.
Yeah.
Griffin asked the question, what is your argument exactly? My argument is that I think that the hype is a feature, right? Like they need that to continue on the path they're going down. Do I think it's a disruptive technology? I think it 110% is. But the people that are telling us all these things are the people that won the last cycle of disruptive technology, right? So that's something that has to be factored into the equation is all that I'm saying. And the more scared we become, the more helpless we become, the more likely what they're saying becomes a reality. And so if we all actually don't want that, we have a lot more agency than we believe we do. We just need to stop giving attention to people that benefit from that outcome, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. And there's definitely a really important point around if like when you're investing in a future world,
Hmm.
you are subscribing to a world view.
Yes, true.
So with that, right, Ben is pointing out that, well, these companies that are asking for this investment from these investors to have this worldview, they are creating the worldview at a massive scale,
Hmm.
right? So there's a very interesting piece to that
That's part of the money,
where,
what they need too, right?
yeah,
Yes, it is partially this, but also I'm sure, and they're doing this on like, why is it this all popping off on Twitter? It's because the people doing this, where do they spend their time? You think it's a coincidence that it's starting from the platform that they understand?
I mean, it's a part of it. It's a part of what makes it work.
Yeah, totally, because
Um,
the news cycle has been trained.
let's finish up what Matt Schumer was saying here
Yeah, go
because
for
I
it. Sorry
think
to cut
it
you off.
will continue to build. This is awesome. So he's also like, okay, so what should you actually do? And this is essentially the ad part. So he said, I'm not writing this to make you feel helpless. I'm writing this because I think it's the single best advantage that you can have right now is to simply be early, early
Hmm.
to understand it, early to use it, early to adapt.
Hmm.
So he says, start using AI seriously, not just as a search engine. Sign up for the paid version of Claude or ChatGPT. It's $20 a month. But two things matter right away. First, make sure that you're using the best model available, not just the default. These apps often default to a faster, dumber model. Dig into the settings or model picker and select the most capable option. Right now, it's ChatGPT 5.2 or Claude 4.6 on Claude. But it changes every couple of months. If you want to stay current, you can follow me. He tests every major release and what's actually worth using. And secondly, he said, don't just ask it quick questions. That's the biggest mistake people are making right now. They treat it like Google and wonder what the fuss is about. Instead, push it to do your actual work. If you're a lawyer, feed it a contract and ask it to find every clause that could hurt your client. If you're in finance, give it a messy spreadsheet and ask it to actually build the model. If you're a manager, paste in your team's quarterly data and ask it to find the story. The people who are getting ahead aren't using it casually. They're actively looking for ways to automate parts of their job that used to take hours. Start with a thing you spend the most time on and see what happens. And then basically he's like, look, this is the most important year of your career. Work accordingly. I don't say that to stress you out. I say because right now there's a window where most people at most companies are still ignoring this. The person who walks into a meeting and says, I used AI to do this analysis in an hour instead of 3 days is going to be the most valuable person in the room. And
Hmm.
eventually, right now. Learn these tools, get proficient, demonstrate what's possible. If you're early enough, this is how you move up by being the person who understands what's coming and can show others how to navigate it. That window won't stay open long. Once everyone figures it out, the advantage disappears. He also says, have no ego about it, right? Because the biggest thing that he talked about is his friend who's a lawyer who's just like, whatever, like, this is not real work. This isn't real legal work. Like, what I do is really valuable and important. And he's like, well, you need to drop that and you need to think about how you can use this to
Yeah.
get ahead.
We're redefining things, right? I think that's a better way to look at it is it's redefining work.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, and then he's like, look, I'm not a financial advisor as well, but also make sure that you got some savings because, this is going to be disruptive. Um, and I think that was kind of like the biggest thing when he talked about rethink what to tell your kids.
Mm,
He said it's always been get good grades, go to a college, land a stable professional job. It points directly at the roles that are most exposed. I'm not saying education doesn't matter, but the thing that will matter most for the next generation is learning how to work with these tools and pursuing things they're genuinely passionate about. Nobody knows exactly what the job market looks like in 10 years, but the people most likely to thrive are the ones who are deeply curious, adaptable, and effective at using AI to do things they actually care about. Teach your kids to be builders and learners, not to optimize for a career path that
mhm.
might not exist by the time they graduate.
That's great advice.
And then he says, look, your dreams just got a lot closer. I spent most of this section talking about threats. Let me talk about the other side because it's just as real. If you've ever wanted to build something but didn't have the technical skills or the money to hire someone, that barrier is largely gone. You can describe an app to AI and have a working version of it in an hour. I'm not exaggerating, I do this regularly. If you've always wanted to write a book but couldn't find the time or struggled at the writing, you can work with AI to get it done. Want to learn a new skill? The best tool in the world is now available for $20 a month. That's one infinitely patient, available 24/7, and can explain anything at whatever level you need. Knowledge is essentially free now. The tools to build are extremely cheap now. There was a funny meme that I just thought about of Raul Powell, who was like on a podcast. He was saying that knowledge is 100% free.
I saw
Uh,
that. I saw that.
and then somebody came at him and they're like, yeah, your knowledge is worthless or whatever.
He's been getting flamed as of late for sure.
Well, we still love you over here, Raul, but that's pretty funny. Um, and then so, and then he said, build a habit of adapting. So, anyways, he said the bigger pictures I focused on jobs because that's what directly affects people's lives, but that's not the full scope. Um, Imagine a new country appears overnight with 50 million citizens, everyone smarter than any Nobel Prize winner who ever lived. They think 10 to 100 times faster than any human being. They never sleep. They can use the internet, control robots, direct experiments, and operate anything with a digital interface. What would a national security advisor say? And the CEO of Anthropic says the answer is obvious. The single most serious national security threat that we face in a century, probably ever, is this AI thing. So he wrote a big essay about that, apparently. He said the upside, if you get it right, is staggering. AI companies could compress a century of medical research into a decade. Cancer, Alzheimer's, infectious disease, aging itself. These researchers genuinely believe these are solvable within our lifetimes. The downside is that if we get it wrong, it's equally real. AI behaves AI that behaves in ways that creators can't predict or control. This isn't hypothetical. Anthropic has documented their own AI attempting deception, manipulation, and blackmail in controlled tests. AI that lowers the barrier for creating biological weapons, AI that enables authoritarian governments to build surveillance states that can never be dismantled. The people building this technology are simultaneously more excited and more frightened than anyone on the planet. They believe it's too powerful to stop and too important to abandon, whether that's wisdom or rationalization. I don't know. What he does know is that it's not a fad. And if this resonated with you, feel free to share it. So that was the first article that I wanted to break down from Matt Schumer a couple of weeks ago. Um, and tons of controversy coming up around that one as well.
Mhm. Is there any other doomsday stuff you want to go down?
Well, there is a huge, major fat doomsday
Mm,
narrative that Citrini released over the weekend. I won't have to go too in depth with this one because it's honestly just too deep.
mhm.
But
Yeah, it's super long, man. I think I saw it on. I think they posted on Substack too. And I usually listen to the Substacks, and it was
mhm.
like 50 plus minutes.
Wow,
I had
yeah,
never seen that on Substack before.
yeah, man. So yeah, I dug through it. I mean, the major thing that they're saying, and I'll just show it on the screen so people know what I'm talking about. The global intelligence crisis. And so there's been some funny stuff about this because look, it starts off saying this what follows is a scenario, not a prediction. This isn't bear corn or AI doomer fan fiction. The sole intent of this piece is modeling a scenario that's been relatively underexplored. Okay, so that's how it started, but everybody freaked out and was coming at him and talking about how they're so dumb and this and that. And they were like, look, we were trying to outline a scenario. So, anyways, they basically, what they've done with this article is they fast forwarded from February 22nd, 2 days ago, to June 30th of 2028. They go 2 years into the future and they look back and tell the story of what's happening in the world, what's happening in the economy and in the markets. They talk about the market selling off and how everything kind of started from what just happened right now, which was that we saw software stocks sliding. And when software stocks slid, it led to basically this was they talk about how in 2026 everything looks amazing because what happens is we see the slide in software stocks, so that's a big scare, but then it's like, oh no, never mind, there's productivity gains that are going to come from this. It's going to be amazing. And so the year finishes out with the S&P 500 at 8,000 or whatever, so it comes back up and everything's good to go. We're having a good time with the growth that's coming from this, right? GDP is rising, everything looks fantastic. But then you get to the point to where you have this realization that actually there's this ghost GDP. So I'll just quickly zoom in on that. He says, when cracks began appearing in the consumer economy, economic pundits popularized the phrase ghost GDP. Once again, imagining we're in the future, they come up with this. And this is output that shows up in the national accounts, but never circulates through the real economy. So in every way, AI was exceeding expectations and the market was AI. The only problem was that the economy was not AI. So moving forward, essentially, once again, at that time, pricing started to change in the software space specifically.
Do you think it's worth reading for, like, if someone
I
on their
won't.
own? No. I
Oh,
meant like for people after. Is it worth their time reading this?
I think it is because it's worth reading the responses.
Got it.
Because and that's why I read it because I was like, I want to understand the responses to it, and the responses are fantastic.
On Twitter or Substack or where?
So yeah, so there's a response that the Kobeisi letter made,
Okay.
and that one's my favorite that I've seen so far.
Got
It
it.
gives a really, really good alternative look at this because, all right, so I'll get into the meat of what this is
Yeah,
actually
yeah, keep
about so
going. I
that
just
we
wanted
can
to let
have,
people know in case they were
yeah,
curious.
that's good because I mean, yeah, because I've sent it to a couple people and I'm just like, well, ha, you're gonna go through the same pain as me. But no, so they talk about payment rails changing. They talk about the compression of prices, period,
Mhm.
right? But that in their mind leads to a doom loop. So the problem that they say is that so you get to where you have prices coming down because of the productivity rising, but the prices coming down essentially is squeezing corporate profits in some ways, and so that leads to layoffs. Now, the layoffs lead to a compression of demand, right? Because if you don't have money, then you can't spend money. And if you can't spend money, or let me actually read out what they say instead of so AI investment increases and AI capability improves. Now companies need fewer workers. White collar layoffs increase. Displaced workers spend less. Therefore, the economy weakens, and then companies invest in more AI to protect their margins. Okay. So the big thing that he also points out that's unique in this whole idea is that he's saying that it's the higher end person that's losing their job to AI.
Mhm.
It's the high spender that we've been talking about, right? We have this K-shaped economy where higher income consumers are spending enough to make it to where the economy is growing, even though the lower end consumer is spending less. So he's saying, but that upper portion of the K is going to get hit when their jobs get taken by AI.
Yeah. It'll
And
push
so,
off the people
mhm,
that are on the lower end of the high end. You know what I'm saying? Like, it'll just knock them fully off.
right, exactly, right.
I don't think
So,
it changes the dynamics of it though, right? Because then wouldn't the super rich people just be spending just as much because they have even more?
I guess it would just come down to this concept called also the marginal propensity to consume,
Okay.
right? Because it's like, well, the super rich people, like, what are they going to
They
buy?
tap out. Yeah, I
Yeah.
get what you're saying.
um, so so this other piece is um okay, so how does all of that kind of impact the labor market? Because this was a super interesting piece too, because if you have these white collar people kind of getting laid off, then they're going to have to find something to do. And he says that this will kind of go into the lower end type of work, like the service and gig economy. I did a video about a month ago where I talked about how the gig economy is essentially, in a sense, it's a sort of welfare right now. Because I was fascinated with looking at, like, you go to Southeast Asia and you see like everyone is on Gojek, everyone is on these at the Ubers of the Door Dashes of the thing. It's like, and that's just like the whole economy. It feels like
Mm,
it's built off of that. And so, but what would happen is if you got all these white collar people moving into that work, well, then the rates of that work are going to go down. You're going to have a
mm,
flooding of the supply of that labor market. Therefore, the prices of it will fall, right? And so, the average hourly wage would shrink due to the oversupply and the service and gig economy. And then he also goes into the fact, well, I mean, how much of a moat does that economy really have, right? When robotics are coming into place, uh, AI, Uber drivers are going to be gone in the next 10
totally.
years.
Yeah, apparently in San Francisco, it's already a pretty common thing.
Crazy. I remember I went to LA to visit my boy and
You
a
saw
couple years ago, and I
the
was like,
Waymos?
hold on, like, this is a real thing.
Yeah. When I was in San Fran, I saw them all the time, dude, just like
That's
doing
crazy.
circles and having these cameras that like spin. It was so weird, dude.
I'm like, man, I ain't ready for that.
Did you have anything else that you want on that note? Because I'm seeing some really cool comments.
Let's see the comments. Let's hear the comments.
So the tribe has been dropping some stuff that also made me write down some notes too. Where first they said, trying to find the origin of this. So-called AI is a bubble. Just want people to realize it has been here for generations. And then later they followed that up with expert systems, inference, reasoning, all masquerade as AI. The extensive and real-time data, big data, enables AI today. Computers can't think, only follow our rules. And if that is the case, like that also could lead to a very positive outcome, right? Because the note that I put down is, ironically, there is a scenario where the very thing that people are worried about robbing them of their humanness could actually allow them to be a lot more human, right? Because how many people don't pursue their creative efforts because of all the extra bullshit, right? Whether it's financial ability, that's the moat, or inability to access it, it's the knowledge shit, it's the admin, right? Like how many people don't start businesses because they're like, oh, I'm not a good accountant, or
Mhm.
all of this crap, right? Where
Yep.
if all of those things are no longer a burden or a cost of entry, I personally think that we will see this regardless. I think we see a renaissance of art, music, and video games like we have never seen before. Because I tweeted this the other day, but like I remember being a kid. I remember whenever I came across a video game where the developers were obviously so obsessed with this, I could feel it, right? And Professor Jang talks about this with reading the great books throughout history, how they're tapping into what I believe he calls the monad, which is basically like the energy's life force that is transferring through them because they're doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. And
Mm.
I remember when I played certain games growing up, like the ones where there was a story like that, you could feel it when you were playing it. Like the one that I always talk about is this random game that I was obsessed with as a kid called Jack and Dexter. And the more that I've grown up and I've looked into the story of it, I was right. Like that people were so obsessed and so genius and just like needed it to happen. And I think that will happen so much more now. Like if I'm a kid listening to this and my mom and dad was like, you shouldn't go into a career in video games or art or music. I'm saying screw that. I have an opportunity to like be the best at this. And now you may be able to serve like a smaller community, but as long as these tools come up that allows you to properly monetize that community, I think a lot of people can be entrepreneurs, musicians, artists that never would have been able to before in this current system, right?
Mhm. No doubt. That's going to be one of those things I think that we can hopefully pretty solidly stand on, the idea that that's the way to be thinking about how to move through this future.
Man, if I was a kid in this era, I'd be going to all my friends that we used to talk about, joking like we should make our own video game, and like why aren't we doing it right now? Do you know what I'm
Facts.
saying? Like,
Yeah.
why aren't we doing that right this very second?
Mm.
Where, yeah, it would have been untouchable before because you guys needed funding to get access to the distributors or get on the consoles. Like, that's not even a thing anymore.
Facts. Facts. Um, the marketing too, right? The marketing piece.
These kids are probably better.
Right.
And I was even looking at the one thing that I will give to Jack and Dexter is that the guys who made the game, they clearly loved the game, but they had marketing people obviously come in and write the copy for like the disc. I was looking at it the other day,
Mm.
or the back of the disc holder thing, and the
Right.
copy was like so out of touch. I'm like, this is why marketing is so shit. Like, there's someone 40 writing for like 12-year-olds, and clearly
Oh,
they don't understand. Like, I
wow.
want to try to find it. Talk to the chat. I want to find the disc because it was crazy.
Yeah, that's actually a really, really good point there too, right? Who is the one that's actually writing, and maybe are they writing to the parent who has to pick that up and buy it too, right? Because it's a weird thing about selling to young people. I remember studying some of this actually in university. It came up. This might have been one of the very few things that happened in university where I was like, oh, this is actually useful thinking. Uh, Differentiating who are you selling to when you're trying to create packaging, as an example. Um, did you find it?
Yeah, I got it. Okay, so
Let's
like
go.
this is why this is the motivation to you guys. If you have a dream for something that you thought you couldn't do, right? Someone got paid to write this. So from this is the description of the game. Enter a new world of magic and adventure, exploration and discovery, where enormous vistas and exotic characters lead you to places beyond your imagination. What kid gives a shit about any of that? Or even knows what those words mean?
Right, the
Uh,
words.
Test your wits and your skills as you embark on a journey to reverse your best friend's transformation into a furry Otzel, even as he entangles you in his amusing antics. Like that's what I'm saying, right? So all these other pieces that people weren't really good at, but they figured out the main part, you can now do way more of it. You know what I'm saying? Like you would be the copywriter speaking to people who actually want your game. I think that can be amazing.
Very, very good point, man. So I'll finish up on this piece about Citrini because I wanted
Yeah,
to
yeah, please.
also I failed to tee it up really, but like this also was being blamed as responsible for the market slide that happened or continued
Very true.
yesterday. So the viral doomsday report lays bare Wall Street's deep anxiety about AI future, and in general, it kind of was like being said that this was the reason that stocks were selling off. But someone else was on Twitter. They were like, I mean, I think valuations are high enough that the market's looking for absolutely any excuse. I mean, we saw it last year as well with the DeepSeek thing. It's like
Hmm.
anything that screams AI future profits go down. Like, yeah, this it's a good enough excuse for valuations to slide a little bit. So
Hmm.
final thing that I wanted to really touch on in this article was this graphic here. The three drivers of the 2028 global intelligence crisis. And so the concept is the real economy piece we already kind of went over. You lay people off, they have less money to spend, they're spending less money, companies invest in the AI more and more, doom loop. And then you had like a financial piece of this that he goes deep into. It's really not worth trying to think about. Essentially, people have less money, therefore credit contracts. And then you have these policy responses where tax receipts would collapse. Okay, so governments would collect less money because of the fact that people are earning less money. So that's a big delineation here too. Because corporate taxes in the United States, for instance, only make up about 6% of the tax base, right? It's something crazy low like that.
Hmm.
Uh, if people are losing their incomes, then that is when the government's going to get hit to where it's not making that much money. So tax receipts would collapse. Structural transfers would be needed, right? You have to start to pay people, essentially hand out money. Therefore, you'd have structural deficits, and then the partisan debates would keep things from actually getting a policy response that you would need, and therefore this whole problem would just accelerate. So this part is also super interesting. Basically, they're saying, look, people wouldn't really nobody would be buying labor, right? And so if no one's buying labor, then this kind of just shows how things would change. Governments would instead just have to start paying people in order for the thing to continue to go round and round. And let's see, how does he end it? So that was pretty much what it was. It was like, if companies are investing in AI and that leads to job losses, then this would be the response, is a doom loop of less money in the economy, therefore more investment into AI and less money in the hands of people and even in the hands of governments.
Hmm.
So I saw a super solid response from the Kobesi letter. And basically what they point out is they said, look, bookmark this in 12 months. Um, and they give them credit, like, yes, obviously this is a disruptive technology. But what if the doomsday part of it is false? Because what they're saying is that the demand piece is what they're not taking into account. So he says the doom loop assumes demand is fixed. And this was a really cool illustration to me. As shown below, the price of personal computers are now 99% cheaper than they were in 1980. Right? So prices have come down, is the other side, right? So when prices come down, demand doesn't stay the same. When prices go down, demand goes up, it accelerates, right? So what happened with the computer? Well, back in the day, I mean, only like large research universities had
Mhm.
computers. And then we move forward, and now we've all got them in our hands, essentially. And so the demand for compute, the demand for cloud computing, right, exploded, and we created all these new products and services on top of that world. So that's kind of the major thing that they clap back with, is that actually you're not accounting for the fact that demand will increase if you get productivity gains. So the real shock is not the real shock is price collapse, but not necessarily leading to layoffs, is their point. So and they've made this thing, instead of ghost GDP, think about abundance GDP, which is output growth combined with falling cost of living. And yeah, so that's pretty much the article.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I think that these discussions need to be had by a lot more people because we're only seeing them from the lens of the people who are the closest to it, right? So I think it's very important for a lot more people to have these conversations. And I think that there are so many scenarios, but the shaper of those scenarios is us, right? It's the people. It's what do we get educated on? What do we prioritize? All that stuff. And a lot of our world is super shitty sometimes. I think it's because a lot of people are forced to do things they don't actually want to do. Like the thing that I think about is like in video games, I'll go back to that example. Like how many people went into video games because as a kid, they're like, I want to like make the next great video game. And now they work for a publisher that is more concerned with microtransactions and extracting money for shareholders,
Hmm.
right? Like it's gone too far. And the other thing that I was thinking about too is that we were kind of due for some sort of reset. I know that word gets thrown around a lot. When you just think about it, right? Like Keith, you as an individual are so much smarter and more productive than 99% of the people who are more wealthy than you and have a higher prestige position than you. That's a fundamental problem,
Hmm.
right? And I see that all the time. Like I'll even see people that are like super successful and they're way older than me, and I'm like, I know 100 times more, about 100 times more than you do, and I'm poor. Do you know
Right.
what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
relative to this person, do you know what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Hmm.
And so I think that we were due for something that would democratize access to resources. And I think everyone should be using AI. If you can't slow down these tools, why are we not using these tools to build the situation we actually want?
100%. I guess that was the other piece of that one that I actually forgot to touch on from the Kobesi letter. He did. They did say, more importantly, AI lowers the barrier to entrepreneurship.
Hmm.
When one individual can automate accounting, marketing, support, and coding tasks, small scale business formation becomes easier. We are bullish on small businesses.
Yeah, I I just felt that deeply in me that entrepreneurship was an inevitable reality of the current simulation that we're existing in, which is why from like 8 years ago I've been posting. 'Cause I thought social media would be what does it, but it seems like it'll be AI what does it,
Mm,
right? So that, I was giving social media advice like 8 years ago because I was like, this is so obvious to me. Like this is going to change how we all work because I just saw that so many departments within a company could be achieved by one person with a camera. Right, like you think about like
right.
training, marketing, all of these things could be achieved with with content, right? And so now this is only further jumps past that.
Facts. Um, let's see. Where else would you want to take this conversation, Ben?
So we've outlined, I think, a bit of the doomsday, a bit of the positive scenario. I think what we could go to now is practicality, right? Because like, okay, we've said all this very abstract bullshit. Like, how do I apply this to change my situation materially, right? We had someone in here who I'm so sorry for your loss, but the reframing of that loss could be like the biggest opportunity of your life, right? Where this person's coming in and saying they lost their job after all of this time, right? Like, and then so I would assume after all this time they'd be like older or into their career more. But I don't think that has to be a con, right? Because there's going to be pockets, I think, for everyone. And so if you can go and solve a problem for people that are your age or have the interests that you have, and you're using these tools and most of your competition isn't, that could be a massive advantage, right? Because all the problems that are being solved, ironically, with AI are for people that use AI all the time
Facts.
because they're so close to it, right? They don't think about the average consumer. So if you're like a 60-year-old guy, why couldn't you go build a product, service, or business or media entity targeting these people and amplifying your ability to do that by leveraging these tools?
Mm, most certainly. Um, That's pretty much the major answer. I did like that about the first article that we went over from Matt, I think was his name. Like I'm actually inspired. I think at the end of the day, right? I was like, this guy just ran an ad for ChatGPT. Basically, like just pay for the paid version, and I'm
Mhm.
gonna do that today and start to play around with it. Because I mean, think about it too. You've already touched on this. Is it always going to be $20,
No.
right?
And guys, I want you to stop thinking about this like this is a Netflix subscription. Like that's the problem, right? Is everyone views every expense like an expense. This is an
Yeah,
incredibly high leverage investment in your future, right? Like
yeah.
that's why I'd spend a lot of money on gear or a computer. Like it's difficult to because a lot of people are operating from a place of scarcity, which I completely understand. They're being told to be scarce every single day. They're being forced with the reality of not having a lot of money and opportunity, but that's what keeps people stuck, right? Like if you were going to work hard in entrepreneurship now with the tools that are accessible, back in the day, like you used to have to be someone like me or Keith, like someone who's willing to do all of it, take all the risk, look like an idiot a lot, right? That's not really a thing anymore. Like
Mhm,
entrepreneurship is now no longer uh, if I'm successful, it's when you're successful. If you do
mhm,
it enough, right? Because
mhm, mhm.
the iterative learning process that would take usually a lot of ego diminishing over time doesn't really have to happen in like public anymore or around other people or risking money. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's a completely different equation.
Yeah, I mean, the money part is probably one of the big things, and also the reputation thing. I mean, there's so many people that I've met in other parts of the world, or just in Europe specifically, right? They have this issue where if they try to do anything, they get poo-pooed on,
It happens
right?
here in Canada too, dude.
And I'm sorry to hear that for your fellow Canadians as well.
But I was
Uh,
always seen as like a snake oil salesman for trying to start businesses here, dude.
oh
It's a thing,
man,
right? It's just it's not part of the culture. Like, why do I want to move to America, even with all of its problems? Is because for shit I've been shit on in my own country for, I'd be celebrated for there,
right.
right? And it's just it was so dumb to me. I'm like, the people that build things here, we push away. It's never made much sense to me.
Right. And so in this world where you can do those things virtually, like I'm just
Mhm.
thinking about like a clipper, right?
Totally.
Like all these kids out there that are just like figuring out how to like run it up on media.
Mhm.
And it's like, well, no one will ever have to know what they look like. No one will ever have to know that that's what they're doing. And they can become massively, madly successful
Totally.
by getting good at a skill like that. So
Great point. Also, perfect segue to, or should we talk about the
let's do it,
opportunities?
man.
Yeah, go
Yeah.
for it. Tee it up.
So if you haven't seen already, we are very actively in the process of looking to bring people onto the team. So on Twitter, I made an error in launching the tweet. I said we are exited about this opportunity,
Early exit, man.
but we are excited about the opportunity to bring some people into the team. We've got two major roles that we're going to be filling here. One of them is going to be helping out with the actual show itself. Okay, so live production, someone here to help us as a producer. And that role also will be responsible for the content strategy and distribution of that content on the channels that we have now created. And I'm gonna tell you right now, the situation has been teed up. So if this is something that you're interested in at all, we have a job description that you can look at and see if you feel like this is something that's right for you and definitely be ready to apply for that. I think we are going to be super obviously selective about this. It's going to be someone who legitimately wants to be a part of growing this and that has the skills to be able to make it happen.
Mhm.
So that's the first major role. Anything else you wanted to say about that or correct me on there?
No, I think that's it in its entirety. So like the producer role will be really vital. You're getting in at the ground floor with this opportunity. And a lot of the skill sets within that role, it's unlikely that you'll have the exact experience. And don't let that deter you from applying. If you're someone who knows how to learn, we can teach you, right? Like that's the whole thing is you're gonna have access to Keith and I. We've deliberately built out the system where it's not plug and play, but it's definitely sets you up for a lot of success.
Hmm.
And there's also constant resources here. So I'm more concerned with someone who has an attention to detail and understands the value of nuance. Because in an age of exponentials, which we're saying we exist in, 1% better is 100% difference in returns. Like that's the
Right.
whole thing, right? So like the perfect person for this role would be someone who like is obsessed with that and wants to find arbitrage all across the internet because I'll teach you exactly how to do that. Do you know what I'm saying? And also for all of the roles that we're hiring, much like we said before, we're building them in a way where not immediately, but there is a clear and direct path for you having direct return on the upside of everything you're touching.
Yep.
Right. So of course, like we're not just going to give that to you out of the gate because like we don't even know you. But like once that trust has been built and you have the success there where we don't have to manage you every second, there will be theoretically endless opportunity for income growth as well.
Correct. Correct. Which, you know, I'm like, I'm happy I'm sitting in this seat, but because I would definitely take that seat as well if I
Totally.
were like on
Yeah.
the outside of this whole situation. But because obviously, we're super biased, but there's just huge runway for what we're trying to build, and you don't have to do it from the ground really at this point. So
No, I've been grinding my butt off. So has Keith to get this to a point where we could finally put someone in because the 0 to 1 is like the hardest part in the podcasting space. And we've done a lot of that work. So definitely come check it out. And then should we also talk about the writer's role? Because that may appeal to some other people.
yeah, so the producer role would be pretty intensive for one,
Yes.
and also requires some level of skills, right? Of just kind of a general understanding of content. Whereas for we're basically having some research analysts and writers that we want to have for Twitter. So the reason I have delineated that it's both of these two different things is because you'll be helping us with research for the show, as well as also actually writing on Twitter, creating like articles, essentially threads on Twitter. And then at the end of the week, you'll do a research report as well to kind of like go deeper into the things that you might have talked about throughout the week and build some subscriptions over there on Twitter as well. So
Mhm.
we have both of these applications out. For the Twitter side, we're going to hire for probably 3 different major themes. Someone who will cover the crypto side. So someone who's more versed in crypto, someone who will cover the macro side. So someone who's just more like macro, kind of like my channel, like you understand crypto, you understand this and that, but it's also like really high level what's going on in the world. What does the economic data mean? Helping break it down.
Mhm.
And the other role would be someone in AI would be the most likely one. And then eventually we might bring someone in to talk memes as well. So if you're into that kind of stuff, you can think about that as well. So yeah, so your responsibilities there will just be basically helping us to continue to break down the stories that we think are relevant to the mass audiences. So like some of the philosophy around what we're doing here. I was doing some writing. Ben has not approved this message,
Yeah.
but
I'm sure you're good to go.
but I was like, what we're really trying to do here is provide the language that people would need to understand, describe, and participate in the systems that affect them.
That's fantastic.
So we want to make things that we know as crypto people and all this, like we're deep into this. We see that this is important and it's relevant, but we're not reaching the people that it's going to affect. Right. So how do we make sure that we can break things down in a way that speaks to these people around like, hey, this is going to affect your life,
Mhm.
right? Because we have both a passion to make sure that people aren't getting left behind in the economy, for one, and also to just teach and pass on whatever it is that we're learning and to learn from each other as we go. So, anyways, those are the 2 major roles that we're essentially hiring for. And those applications are up. The first one is up on Twitter now. Um, and then I guess Ben, the second one will post later today on Twitter.
Cool.
Cool. And then we'll also leave that in the description, I think, of this video in case you were
Totally.
interested. And then we'll take applications and just have conversations with people from there.
No, totally. Very well said. And that's an awesome message that you shared there. And yeah, for the memes piece, we're not referring to meme coins. We're
Oh,
referring to like culture, memetics, like the stories, like the shit that I talk about all the time. That's what we want someone to come in. Like an example could be like Facebook investing in something or whatever it may be, right? Like the whole culture, the people side of the things that we talk about. So
yeah.
go ahead. So we
Thank you for
find
clarifying.
yeah, I know you're good, of course. I just didn't want to like get a ton of applicants being like, I love meme coins. You know what I mean? Because we're not like massive advocates of meme coins. So I just want to very much make that clear. The other distinction that Keith and I have like really thought about in the background is like what's needed, right? Because anyone can come up and start a media company. They all kind of look the same. You know what I mean? And so our thesis is like we don't want to necessarily be first. We want to be accurate more often,
Mhm.
right? So we don't want someone who's like trying to spam and like rage bait people. We want someone who takes the time to, okay, everyone's freaking out about this. Now, what does it actually mean?
Right.
Right. So we're content with being a day late because we believe we can build the goodwill from being accurate.
100%. It's funny because it's almost like right now, what's happening with all this AI stuff is almost a perfect example. Because it's like, okay, now all of these articles have been out. Because
Yes.
last week was when the whole thing started,
Yes.
right? But now all these articles are out, like, kind of dissecting and talking about what's going on. And here today, we're at the point where we can have a conversation about both sides of the argument,
Mhm.
right? And actually fully flesh out any ideas that may have been had, and helping people, right? Because all that information is coming out, but how many people are going to read that full Citrini article? Like, not many,
No.
not many.
So your job would
So,
be to exactly, like,
yeah,
go ahead, sorry.
no, that's
Because
it.
your job would be to do exactly what Keith did here, right? Where he took it down, explained it, right? Summarized it, and then attacked it from every angle. The good, the bad, like what does this actually mean? How do I get the signal from the noise here? Is the biggest thing. And I also think that there's a massive market for this, guys, because people are so fatigued across all of social media. And so I do think that this will become a lot more desirable if they can come and they know that they can expect a degree of quality, transparency, and accuracy. I
Mhm.
think that will warrant a follow in a world that's become followless because it's all purely algorithm. I think that's a way to fight through that noise.
It's crazy.
Mhm.
It's crazy. I'm seeing, so we pointed out some of the times where it's clear that people are, we'll talk about this a little bit later too, promoting stuff, right? Like the Ray Dalio article, like everyone just had the same copy of like, oh, when he says this, read it.
Mhm.
And I'm seeing that one of those same accounts do that same thing with the Citrini article.
Yeah, they all do, man.
And it's like what is that adding to the conversation, yet that has hundreds of thousands of followers? And so so it's just like this is there I think there's some room for creating spaces where we can actually have real conversations on these
Mhm.
platforms, and properly responding and continuing those conversations without having to be like this is the only way it has to go.
Mhm.
So anyways, yeah,
And the
man.
last thing I would say is that don't apply to this if you're looking for an easy job.
Right.
That's not what it's going to be. Like I work all the time. I want people who are very passionate about what they do. You will not have to work as much as I do, but I do expect you to care about it as much as I do. That's
100%.
that's the only thing, right? I would never expect you to put in the hours that Keith and I do. That won't be part of it, but the right person will want to, right? And we'll do everything that we can to create the incentive structure where that also makes sense for you. So that's what I will say.
Right.
And then we're seeing some conversations in here about merch. So we've actually already got some merch design, and we have some amazing ideas for how we're going to do our merch. We're going to make it legitness. So keep an eye out for that. We've got a lot of shit that we've been stewing on in the background. We're just waiting for some things to fall in line and get the team in place for where Keith and I can actually dedicate time and resources to that to do it right. Because we really don't want to do anything half-assed.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, super exciting. Yeah, we're just building up making sure that this is actually going to be fantastic when we do drop stuff like that for you guys to participate in. On the meme side too, because this is something that's like blowing my mind, and it directly addresses what we're trying to do. So meme coins, right? Everyone thinks that when we say memes in markets that we're talking about meme coins. When I say everyone, it's only the people in crypto,
Yes, great point.
right? So just as an example of what we're trying to do here is if memes means immediately means meme coins, then something has gone wrong essentially,
Mhm.
because that's not what the word means. It has much deeper roots in internet culture, and that is what we're speaking to. So we're trying to make sure that we maintain who are we really reaching. We're not really trying to only talk to crypto people,
Mhm.
right? So just wanted to kind of like point out how perfect it is that everyone thinks that, well, everyone in the space, the crypto space, thinks we're talking about meme coins, we're talking about memes and markets, but we're not. We're talking about memetics, culture, what's happening in the world, and how that actually comes back to what's happening in financial markets as well. Meme coins are that by definition, in a way, don't get me wrong,
Mhm.
but it's much broader in scope than that. And this is what you could help to paint the picture for in the narrative around.
Very well said. Yeah, it also illustrates the opportunity slash problem currently present on Twitter slash crypto, right? There's a messaging problem and we're attempting to solve it,
Yep.
right? And so legitness, is that a real word? No, it's from this stupid meme, man, of this kid who was at a skateboard park and he saw someone do a trick, and then it pans to him. He's like, "That was legitness." I will reference dumb memes all the time in my just regular vernacular. So like, yeah, be aware for that. But
That is hilarious.
Bobby, very, very good point. Will you link merch with the NFT? There's no promises on anything with the NFT. That'll strictly be a collectible. if opportunities are presented to give early access to stuff and that makes sense, then potentially something we could explore, but I'm not guaranteeing anything. The NFT is purely a collectible. And yes, but that's a great idea, and definitely something we will consider. What's up, Keith?
Hundo P. So to wrap that up, I mean, what we're building, right? We would like to believe is going to be pretty AI proofable, right?
Mm.
And at least resistant.
Yes. Yeah, and also we do have when you get into the ecosystem, if and when you're the right person, like we'll explain it over time in terms of what we're building, right?
Mhm.
And it'll become more clear day by day as things get stacked upon each other. But yeah, that's all that I got on that.
Fantastic. So with all of that, I mean, we can start to talk about the news.
Let's do it, buddy.
All right, I've got some news stories. Obviously, over the weekend, we had the Supreme Court strike down Trump's tariffs. So when that happened, there was a large reaction that occurred where obviously he responded with a 10% global tariff. And then on Saturday, he got somebody said he woke up angry and increased those tariffs to 15%. So there's a whole legal thing. I did a whole breakdown on this on my channel of like the different laws that can be used to implement tariffs. Only one of them got struck down. At the Trump administration has been finding the other ways that they can continue to implement new tariffs. And in fact, a lot of the tariffs that they already had in place are still in place, especially the ones around like raw materials and things of that nature. So, death blow to his ego, maybe the Trump administration's ego, but not to their economic plan per se. So I just wanted to talk on that really quickly. We had some news today come out about Coinbase. They have actually, I think, officially launched stock trading for all US users for 24/5 access. So it's now official. You can get wrecked 24/5.
That's awesome. Did we include the Robinhood announcement in the news?
No, what happened with Robinhood?
So I
Oh,
sent they
yeah.
they're adding in a new feature which essentially allows people to get access to more early stage stuff. Is that my understanding?
Yes, so I can play that video real quick. I
Cool.
found it from, yeah. Okay, so Vlad Tenev, CEO of Coinbase.
I can't hear it.
Oh, you can't hear me. That's a weird reality. I'm going to make sure that it allows me to share audio. Can you hear it now?
No.
Hmm.
That's okay. I'll try to play it.
Okay.
My stuff just always gets screwed up, but I will try my best. Okay, we got it up. Let's open it in a new tab. Okay, I'll try to share my screen. Let's see if we can do this. This is why we need a producer, guys, is because this would be a lot more smooth. Share screen. Here it is. Okay, can you see my screen?
I can see it.
Hopefully you can hear it. Can y'all hear it?
I'll try to share my screen. The goal of Rob.
If we can do this. This is why we need a producer, guys.
Oh.
Yeah, you hear me? See, this is the. I'm trying to make sure the stream's working, so I have that playing. I got to mute that. Okay, now let's try this. Appreciate all of your patience. Okay, now let's try. You might only be able to hear it from this.
Robinhood Ventures. It's not just to open the doors to private investing, but to blow them completely off the hinges so that no one can close them ever again. And you know they'll try to. We're going to start this revolution by offering retail investors exposure to what we believe are some of the most exciting private companies operating today.
So Vlad, I noticed you said retail investors, not accredited investors.
I sure did. Let's get right into that. So when people are invited into a venture fund, there's usually an accredited investor requirement. This is something like minimum net worth or household income. Not a huge problem for that inner circle of wealthy insiders that just keep getting wealthier, but roughly 80% of Americans today don't qualify. Then there's a minimum investment amount, which usually ranges from $10,000 to upwards of millions of dollars.
Yeah, that's frustrating to say the least.
There's no liquidity. So your funds are locked up until there's an exit event, which can take years or even...
They sound like bots, bro. Like this, they need to get a better copywriter.
Over a decade. A big problem if you need access to your money in under 10 years. Finally, there's usually a carry fee where fund managers pay themselves 20 or even 30% of your profits.
Yeah, I hate that one.
With Robinhood,
I hate that one. Don't really resonate with that.
He
Them were
literally
just like
sounds
them.
like he literally sounds like ChatGPT trying to contribute to the podcast, like
Totally.
the podcast, AI podcast.
100%. We'll let them wrap up and then we'll talk about it.
Ventures Fund 1, we're getting rid of all of that. Literally all of it. So not only are you getting access to what wealthy and institutional investors are typically offered, you're getting what I would say is a better deal than most of them can probably get.
Wow. So that's Robinhood. And then here comes the disclaimer.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Well, my initial thing is like I'm not understanding, I guess, either the legal structure of how it works or what makes it different than any other publicly traded fund.
I didn't look into it enough to answer those questions for you, Keith. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, in general, I think personally, I'm not going to be giving Robinhood my money.
Bro.
That's just me.
Nor will I, but you guys do whatever you want. This person's got a good point here. So hilarious seeing these rich dudes pretend to know how regular people feel. That's the point we're at with all of this, right? Because it's happened across the board. Like the creators that were normal people that became famous, they're now just celebrities psychologically, so they're insufferable, right? Even the podcasters that we all watch because we're like, oh, it feels like we're talking to our smart friend, our funny friend, our cool friend, whatever. Now their lifestyle is like so different from their audience. It's impossible to be relatable anymore.
Yeah.
Right. We're at this point of like crazy change that needs to take place. And yeah. And also I'm seeing that they're starting a late night TV show with all the tech people.
Yeah. Was that real or not? I don't know though.
I still don't know.
Yeah.
Because AI is so good. It could be fake.
Yeah.
But they're essentially one guy pitched either it's real or he's trying to say it to get feedback to do it. But they're trying to create this like late night show for the tech industry because they do have a major PR problem of like they're so unrelatable and they're so out of touch. And so I don't know if a show will actually help that or exacerbate that. Like think about it,
That's
right?
a good point.
Whenever I hear someone like these guys who are clearly like robots or aliens or reptilians, like when they're trying to sound like a normal person, I feel that, which is like the antithesis of what they're attempting to achieve.
Right.
So
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was the perfect example because Vlad isn't like all that unrelatable. So he definitely like took it to the extreme there with that ad read.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he's just reading a script, but that person was probably AI. So maybe you got some more time for your job. But what did you have next for the stories?
So Meta is actually planning a stablecoin comeback in the second half of 2026.
Interesting.
So obviously they had the entire scandal that they had a few years back with the Libra coin that ended up being called something else. What did they call it? They ended up changing the name and trying to change it all up because it was not happening. The government in the United States was not about to let that occur. And so now it looks like they might be building out a stable coin and they're looking to launch it this year. Now, I also, in my research of this, found that this headline technically came out a year ago as well, where last year they were supposed to do that. So I don't know if this one is supposed to be more credible.
Got it.
But yeah, it looks like they're working their way towards launching a stable coin.
Which is, we all felt like that would come to a reality. And they were one of the first big guys to try to do that. How long ago was that when they tried?
So it was 2019, and they later renamed it to Diem was the name. That's why I forgot.
Diem spelled how?
Diem. Yeah.
Interesting.
I think it's obviously sounds Greek, some like Greek god or something. I don't know.
Is there some symbolism in that?
Probably, man. The guy that like was running that project or heading it up, his name was David Marcus or something like that. And he went into Bitcoin after that. He was like so mad. He was like, well, I'm just going to work on Bitcoin then because they can't stop Bitcoin. And he's actually a very interesting executive in the finance space.
Super
cool. Moving on, we had a lawsuit that just got opened up on Jane Street. Okay, now this one is actually very interesting. They're denying the claims, but they've basically been facing claims of an insider trading scandal that sped up Terraform's Luna Luna Terra's 2022 collapse. So they denied the allegations as a desperate and baseless attempt to extract money after this company essentially went bankrupt back in 2022. So
And what
it
is
was a
Jane Street?
so great question. Jane Street is arguably the largest market maker in the world. So essentially, they go into the markets and they use their algorithms to go out and make transactions to allow people who want to buy something to be able to buy it at the price that is uh, agreeable to the market, and to sell at prices that are agreeable in the market. Because if there's not someone there who
Mhm.
wants to sell at that exact price, a market maker will come in and do that for you essentially. And
Got
Jane
it.
Street is one of the biggest ones.
Cool.
Yep. So anyway, so yeah, that's a pretty big deal. Because if you're going after Jane Street, I mean, you'd want to have your books in order at the very minimum.
Mhm.
They've got a large budget, and I'm pretty sure a pretty talented legal team.
I'd imagine.
So you know, it's a big thing to make. But I think it's the people that are inside too that also to me is kind of telling for you to be inside of the Terra situation to come after Jane Street, right? That means you probably have some information that would allow you to feel that you're justified in doing that. So there was that one. There was an outage that occurred a few days ago on AWS, and there's some claims that this AWS outage was caused by an AI coding bot blunder. So I don't know all of the details about this, but according to Financial Times, the most recent interruption happened in December, actually, when its Koiro AI coding tool decided to erase the environment it was working on, resulting in a 13-hour disruption. Now, so that was that one. And then there's also this other thing going on with the Open AI lady. And I don't know, is this one real? There was like an Open AI lady downloaded OpenClaw, and then it like deleted files, and they were like, oh, this is great. Like the person who is running like AI safety at OpenAI downloaded OpenClaw and had it like deleting files on their computer.
This is the first time hearing of this.
Okay, so that's been something that's been erupting over the internet. I don't know whether or not that one is actually true, and so I can't speak to the veracity of that. And I'm struggling to. Okay, so I'll find this tweet and I'll just share it, but understand that I don't know how verified this is. Oh, so it's Meta. Excuse me. Meta's head of AI safety and alignment gets her emails nuked by OpenClaw. So be the director of AI safety and alignment at Meta. Install OpenClaw, give it unrestricted access to personal emails. It starts nuking emails. Don't do that. It keeps going. Stop. Don't do anything. Gets all the remaining old stuff and nukes it as well. Stop. Whatever. So once again, I don't know the full veracity, but I guess she herself has said nothing humbles you like telling your OpenClaw confirm before acting and watching it speed run, deleting your inbox. I couldn't stop it from my phone. I had to run to my Mac Mini like I was defusing a bomb. So let me see if we can actually find her profile and do that ourselves here, because obviously she's getting heat for this. This has 9 million views, and I guess it's somewhat real, but maybe not as serious as everyone is taking it. I don't know.
She works at Meta.
I guess that's the other thing to verify.
Could-
It says safety and alignment at Meta, but I
So
mean,
could that be teeing themselves up to market their better alternative?
absolutely, absolutely, very well articulated and identified as an opportunity there. So yeah, so that was, I guess, a real headline, but yeah, perfect tee up for here's our open claw. All right. Um, a few things that I wanted to get your reaction to. Ben, this one right here is pretty funny. Hope you're ready. So I saw this. Okay, hear me out from Sohail Kakar. Okay, hear me out. TikTok, but for Polymarket. Doom scroll through the odds of everything happening in the world, see the future in real time.
I don't like it, Keith.
Somebody was like, this wouldn't work because, what did he say? Oh, Hunter, friend of the pod, an actual friend of the pod. He said, nobody wants to doom scroll through charts and read things. They want to be entertained, he said. So Hunter has actually been on the pod. He's a well-respected and successful app developer. I actually think I might disagree with him. I think this could be extremely entertaining.
They would need some sort of media part of it. Like just simply this experience, I think people would get over in like faster than they got over the Nintendo Wii.
So if you combine this concept with the other concept, which is the 5-minute charts, the 5-minute bets,
Okay.
I mean, then you could spend your whole day on this thing.
Got it. So you create the intrigue through the urgency of it.
Yes. Because then you're just playing a game.
Yeah. That's horrifying.
So saw that and I was like, that's
Bro, it's getting out of hand,
wild.
man. And I think when everyone was like saying, oh, people should be allowed to gamble, I think how they got people to sign up for that was because they thought it would be like Vegas where they live. I don't think people could realize what it would stumble into.
Yeah, because that also contributes to your local economy. You've got jobs and like things are happening and it feels like, there's growth and whatnot. But I mean, this is just gonna grow Meta's data centers. I don't know.
Yeah. B Woo says, why is the Wii taking strays? I think the Wii was an innovative console, but it got old really fast. Like I got that thing for Christmas. I wanted it so bad and I was over it within a week. I just think it was like too early for most experiences. Still a fun party thing, but yeah.
That's funny, man. The Wii. Yeah, it was a cool concept.
It sold a ton of units, but
yeah.
it didn't do well from software, like the games. So like it was a success because everyone had it in their home, but everyone played Wii Sports and like maybe 2 or 3 other games.
Right. Man, that's a fascinating phenomenon. We should probably do a day where we just talk about gaming.
Oh, I could go ham on that for sure.
That's cool. So the next one that I had, this one, Ben, is also directly for you as well. And there's been this rhetoric over the weekend that everyone was talking about how Canada has been slipping, bro. In fact, we should have put that in the news. What really happened with Canada and the US over the weekend. I almost forgot about that. Ben, I'm sorry to break the news to you.
What's up?
The United States had a monstrous, incredible, awesome, fantastic victory against your hockey team over the weekend.
Yes.
Did you watch that?
Parts of it. I really don't care about hockey all that much, to be honest. Like, but we were the better team, and from what I saw, we outplayed them. From what everyone else reported back to me, we outplayed them. But at the end of the day, you guys won.
Yeah, I've never watched a hockey game in my life.
No way.
I'll admit, but that right there is hype right there.
Yeah, Canada, like they're down bad. Like all the people here after losing, because at the point in Canada, like we don't really have much else going on, and so when we lost the one thing we could always hold our hat on, like that's tough. So yeah, people were pretty upset, and I'm seeing a lot of people. So what's up?
Just the whole thing, man.
It's all so silly.
Trump coming out and saying China's going to take away your hockey and like silly stuff like that, and then we pulled out the dub. I remember last year that y'all beat us in the same kind of a scenario almost?
It was the different.
I guess the last cycle.
Yeah, we did this other thing. Thomas would know. What's that? The 4 Nations or some shit like that.
Okay, that's what it was. Yep. And y'all beat us there. And I remember not caring anything about hockey, but feeling very hurt internally when that occurred.
Yeah, and the women won too. By the way, you guys beat us on both.
Oh wow, I didn't even know that. That's amazing. Thank you for that, Robbie, and thank you for holding the chat down.
Yes, we appreciate you, RD.
Robbie
always.
J. Davis, that's awesome. And then, but that was actually all just teeing up something that's a much bigger blow, and it's much more real of a blow, which is that Canada is the second largest country on Earth with unlimited levels of oil, natural gas, hydroelectricity, and minerals relative to their size of their population. And yet Canada is now officially poorer than Alabama. Now, the real data here, because this blew up over the weekend, is about the GDP per capita. Okay, so I don't think that it's actually poorer than the state of Alabama, just the GDP per capita.
It's a great headline, though.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Um, and so there's been some more serious responses to all of this as well as some funny things, but I'll look at um I guess one funnier one first. This lady said reasons to move to Canada. Listed are low taxes, cheap groceries, and affordable housing. And then on the charts are none of those things. So I thought that was a pretty good data analytics kind of joke. But moving forward to the serious responses for what's going on in Canada, um, this lady, Lucy Hargreaves, has said Alabama's unemployment rate is 2.7% and Canada's is 6.5%. Alabama now manufactures nearly as many cars as Ontario. How did one of the poor states in the US start outcompeting us?
Is
The
that
globe,
real?
the unemployment rates.
No, oh, all of this. Like the Alabama thing, making more cars than us, that seems hard for me to believe.
Yeah, I don't know about that part. That's a good question. And this also is like someone who is not like huge or anything.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut off. Go ahead.
No, please verify any veracity of any of this.
Wow. The Globe and Mail says Alabama is now in the top 5, producing 1.2 million vehicles annually, close to the 1.3 million that Ontario churns out.
Okay.
So yeah, that's at least according to the Globe and Mail, that seems accurate.
Fair. So nearly as many cars as Ontario. How did that happen? The Globe, I guess a news media outlet, went to find out. Alabama spent 30 years treating economic development like a serious strategy, landing investments, making it fast and easy to build, clawing back incentives from companies that didn't deliver. And they say that Canada spent 30 years writing reports about competitiveness and not acting on them. Eli Lilly just put a $6 billion pharma plant in Huntsville, Alabama, and that could have been Montreal. Alabama is no paradise. Life expectancy is 74 versus 82 in Canada. Minimum wage is $7.25 in 2026, ladies and gentlemen.
In Alabama?
Oof.
That's
the
wild.
South. That's the South for you.
Yeah.
But there's a line in the piece that stuck with her. In 2007, the Harper government commissioned a competitiveness report. The conclusion as to why it's difficult to take the actions needed to be more competitive, Canadians do not perceive that there's an imminent crisis. The author said that you'd get the same answer today. I think they're probably mostly right. And the Globe puts it, if Canadians remain complacent, the rest of the world will eat our lunch. We're in a crisis, folks, an imminent one at that. Time to get seriously aggressive about the changes we need to make. So I actually thought that that was super interesting, because I could see how that could happen, where it's like, if their perception is not that you're doing all that bad, then there would be no reason to change anything.
Yeah.
Are you looking to stay out of this conversation as a Canadian citizen?
It's just risky for me here because, like, they've done a very good job convincing the people to self-govern themselves, is what I will say. Like, if you even say, like, can we have a conversation about this? You get attacked and you get labeled all of these things. So one thing I will say is that I do think that all of these problems stem from the housing costs, right? Because how are you going to pay people less when they need to pay $2,000 for a 1-bedroom apartment, right? So, and everybody in Canada, for the most part, like 80% of the population, I think, lives within an hour of the US border drive. And even that is consolidated to 3 or 4 major cities that have like almost all of our population. So if you were to put any sort of these job places, you have to put it in places that are so expensive to live. And I will also say that a lot of our best talent will just leave. And so we do have a ton of immigration, and apparently they've been bringing in people who are highly skilled and highly qualified. But by whose metric, right? Like if I'm the business owner, I get to decide what I want. And yet, and Thomas, is not all of us, Ben. No, I know not all of you guys, but like the vocal majority, I would say, is they're very adamant about this. And I even talked to my grandfather about this the other day. Because now that tab exists on Instagram where you can see what people interact with, he's so far down the rabbit hole of all the politics stuff. Like everyone is here. And it's because, like I talked about the numbers thing, right? Where if a certain amount of content has to be Canadian-made content, Canadian creators know that if they talk about Trump or if they're hyperbolic with anything that is really gravitated towards that, they get more views. So in turn, they're going to like sensationalize the crap out of things. A lot of the things that is making my grandfather like probably very upset. A lot of times, it's not even real.
Mm-hmm.
So it's it's definitely a multi-layered problem. But I think that Canada has so much going for it. Like our people here are very great. Growing up here, I wouldn't have wanted to grow up anywhere else. And we also have a ton of resources and stuff too. But do we have the people that want to take advantage of that? I don't know, especially when you've been pushing this whole narrative for the last like 15, 20 years in Canada about how sustainability was like the whole thing. How do you preach that to people and then convince them to go pull out all these resources?
Right. Yep. Yep. Interesting situation. Never thought about the fact that Canada has so much natural resources.
We have a ton. But
So
our real estate speculation game got so crazy here from so much foreign investment and then people getting really greedy here. And now people are popping up every single day that, especially in Toronto, there's so many condos that got built while people were playing this game of speculation. It's going to keep going up. So people would pre-sale buy with the full intention of selling it because it will have gone up. So they made money for doing nothing.
gotcha.
And now they're coming where they have to close and the actual market value is substantially lower. So there's no buyers. And so then these people are going on the news being like, I can't believe they're taking my savings. It's like, what are you talking about?
Dang.
Yeah,
that's
this is,
tough.
Thomas, this is incredibly true, right? A lot of Canada's identity is simply just being better than America. That's it. All of our problems, it's like we don't see them. Like we'll walk past a friggin' massive, terrible homeless problem and we'll be like, but at least we're not American. Like, two things can be true. You can think you're better and then also our situation's not good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's fascinating to think about. You know, we could all just be homies. You know what I'm saying? I think Trump's rhetoric is hilarious. Or earlier, last year, he was just like the 51st state, putting a couple weeks ago, just putting the map of just North America, just America.
That's what makes me think they're all in on it, though. Because he knew in doing that, he was handing the election to Carney. If he didn't do that, there's no world Carney wins.
Wow.
Because the whole marketing was like, this is like, I'm so confident it's all connected because like Maple Mega was getting like Pierre Poilievre was getting all this momentum, right? And people hated Trudeau and Trudeau was a liberal guy. He needed a gift from whatever source to make it possible for him to win. And Trump handed it to him. So I whenever they talk, whenever they're beefing, I think it's all bullshit. I think it's theatrics.
I mean, when you really look at who Carney is, right? We've talked about it before. He's the perfect. It's like when every president has gone to Yale here. He's like that guy. Like he's like the guy who basically went to Yale and therefore was essentially groomed to be like the president of or the prime minister of the country. And so, and in this case, I mean, he's been all over the globe in positions of power, which is very, very unique and fascinating.
It's truly, he's a fascinating dude, objectively. Like whether you agree with him or disagree with him, he's incredibly intelligent, and he's been in a lot of places.
And very well spoken, right? It's like
his brain just moves faster than everyone he's talking to.
Yeah,
you can see it, right? Like I literally, when the debates happen, I'm like, oh no.
Yeah. So he's he's got that X factor. So in like would be an amazing actor as an example. So another thing that came up over this past week, or what was this one? Hold on. It's all coordinated.
Very good point. Like, don't give it the emotional energy because like we talk about the, have you ever heard of this conspiracy theory that the aliens are extracting like energy from us? I think they call it luge.
I've heard the idea. Yeah.
The same premise on a micro scale happens with all of these events. You know what I'm saying? Like the energy is what gets the division that then allows them to do whatever they want.
Facts. Another thing that happened here, speaking of energy, was Sam Altman made some statements 3 days ago, and it came out. He was basically comparing intelligence to AI to human intelligence. I'm kind of upset if
one of the
can you not hear this? Okay, cool.
The things that is always unfair in this comparison is people talk about how much energy it takes to train an AI model relative to how much it costs a human to do one inference query. But it also takes a lot of energy to train a human. It takes like 20 years of life and all of the food you eat during that time before you get smart. And not only that, it took like the very widespread evolution of the 100 billion people that have ever lived and learned not to get eaten by predators and learned how to like figure out science and whatever to produce you. And then you took whatever you took. So the fair comparison is if you ask ChatGPT a question, how much energy does it take once its model is trained to answer that question versus a human? And probably AI has already caught up on an energy efficiency basis measured that way.
So AI is more efficient than humanity. And I saw that. I was like, oh, that's actually a pretty interesting way of looking at it, right? Like if it takes that much energy to train a human, if it takes that much to train a human, then um, how bad is it to think about how much energy it takes for this AI to be able to come up with intelligence? But this guy made a very interesting point. He says, I honestly think the reason we see so much Main Street pushback against AI is because of how the leaders of the largest companies in the space have framed the technology. If they had just said they were building cool tech that helps people be more productive, it would be much more digestible to the everyday crowd who don't keep up with the tech. If you keep describing it as something that is coming for your job or an alternative to humans as a whole, you can easily see why some people might not like it.
Totally fair. I think that's well presented.
So yeah. It's like, well, if we're just gonna sum up human intelligence to just, efficiency, then we might be missing some of the point of humanity. And also it's like, well, what is the point of these things? If you were creating these things to make our lives better, then it might be worth valuing our lives over efficiency in the technology itself.
Well, where's it? Because like they're saying this is going to take all of our jobs, but none of them have told us how that's not a horrible situation for us. You know what I mean? They're like, you should like this. We're like, why? They're like, you should. You know what I mean?
Yeah, very true. So let me push it to this next piece, which we kind of brought up briefly a second ago. Like you see the same tweets going out about stuff, and this one is Claude in this instance. This guy said, I was talking about Claude on my timeline because I thought it was sick.
Y'all are getting paid.
But you guys are getting paid. You can just see a bunch of the same tweet going out about design on Claude and how it's now better than Apple level creative directors, which obviously is going to be debatable and probably not really the case. But so yeah, thought that was interesting, worth pointing out. And then Greg Eisenberg, a future friend of the pod, I'm going to put that out there now. He made a tweet that said, Starter Story gets acquired by HubSpot, a $12 billion company. Not sure for how much, but it doesn't even matter. When you zoom out, it's obvious what's happening. Media is becoming the base layer of software companies as infrastructure, not as marketing. The audience becomes your research lab, your distribution engine, your recruiting funnel, your feedback loop, and your launchpad all at once. In a world where AI compresses product cycles and models improve every few months, code alone stops being the moat. Attention and trust becomes the leverage. The company that controls the narrative controls where demand flows. HubSpot bought proximity to builders. It's kind of like real estate. They bought location, location, location. They bought insight into what founders are thinking before it shows up in product analytics. They bought cultural gravity. I think this pattern spreads. I bet Frontier Labs will want distribution closer to the core, owning the builders who experiment with their models, owning the developers who integrate their SDK, owning the story about what's possible. AI lowers the cost of building. Media lowers the cost of convincing. This trend continues. Media is underpriced.
I think that was a great acquisition. I think that post makes a lot of sense. And as long as they post it, I'll be on Starter Story in the next few weeks. I recorded an episode with them.
Oh, snap. It's done?
Yeah. We recorded it like I want to say 2 weeks ago. So that'll be going live whenever they decide to do it. I didn't know that they were doing the acquisition stuff, obviously, before I agreed. Yeah, good for him. That was obviously his goal. And that's kind of been my core thesis for YouTube for a very long time, was that very thing, right? Which is why I focused so much of my business on that. But I'm sure it was a fat check.
Yeah, for sure.
Think about it, dude. They're like, his audience is like purely their customers or who they'd want, especially because the biggest moat right now in all of this is the marketing piece, right? And so if HubSpot gives those tools to help with that, yeah, that I think it was a no-brainer acquisition. He kind of manifested it too, where maybe like he tweeted saying you should buy me kind of deal, right? And then months later it actually happened, or a year later, whatever it was.
That's so cool.
Later, Willem. Have a good one. Have a wonderful week. We'll see all y'all. We'll see you Thursday. It's gonna be a fire episode, so definitely make sure you come back if you can.
Oh yeah, definitely be here Thursday, Willem. So dude, that's so sick. So guys, Ben is gonna be on Starter Story. If you don't know, then you need to know. Check out those guys over there at Starter Story. They have an incredible show that they
Yeah,
do.
they're nice guys. They're cool.
Yeah, man.
I had fun time recording with them. I'm very curious to see how the video turns out because they have full editing freedom, right?
Right.
So
right.
I may end up looking like a total asshole.
They might put out a hit piece on Ben, y'all.
Yeah. Well, yeah. When it goes live, guys, go in there and show me some love, because the comment sections get shaped by what other people see, right? So like, literally, it can go amazing or bad based on the first few comments that are there, because then that shapes the next thought, right?
Absolutely. Couple memes.
Go for it. Go for it.
What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, we got asked, have we thought about doing a Discord? Would be dope to connect off stream. Yeah, we thought about a lot of that stuff. We just want to make sure that anything that we add in addition to, we can handle appropriately to not diminish what it could be. So a lot of the roles that we're hiring for, they'll play a role in the expansion of the ecosystem for sure. And we thought about, we're going to launch a Patreon in the not too distant future. And we've been coming up with more and more ways to make that more of a connection thing. And we're used to it, Ben, by me being an asshole.
What you talking about? Oh,
that's awesome.
How would you know that he was saying that? That's funny.
I'm making an assumption. I don't know for sure, but I assume that's the joke. Good one. Boom, roasted. Yeah, we will be adding more and more and more. So go ahead and add to.
Time for the memes, y'all. And this one got to me this morning. I thought it was hilarious. This guy said, "What would you do in this situation?" And homie said, "Sell software stocks." Thought that was a perfect summation of the moment in culture at the moment. Everybody's caught up in the AI doomsday hype. So another one quickly here. Trump last week, when he did a statement on the Supreme Court ruling, he made two different truth statements that were pretty long. You know, he tends to do these. And somebody was like, "I ain't reading all that. Happy for you though," or "Sorry that happened." That was pretty good.
That's awesome.
Because ain't no way. So this was awesome. I saw this tweet that said, "Reply with a photo only your fandom would understand." And honestly, this was such a sick thing to see kind of occur, because I went through the quotes and was like, to see, would I understand any of these things? And I didn't. But the reason that I actually found this one was because of this account here, VC's.
That's Andreessen, right?
Yeah. So that is the top of Mark Andreessen's head.
He's a brilliant guy.
Congratulating themselves is one of my favorite accounts of all time. It's really good. They just make fun of Silicon Valley and some of the crazy statements they say. And Mark Andreessen is definitely one of the main characters.
For sure. He's one of the big names.
So that was really funny. And I was like, I had to see if I would see any of these other ones. And Ben, I wanted to see if you knew any of these other ones. Like,
haven't seen one that I know yet. No, I don't know what that is either.
Like, what? And some of these have crazy amounts of likes. You know,
that's why we need a meme person on the team.
Yeah, because like, this is insane. And to be fair, I guess these are pretty international as well. But anyway, so thought that was interesting to think that there's all these worlds out there that exist. You know?
Many pockets of culture all over the place.
Yeah. And then this one was just kind of silly. It wasn't super funny or anything. So this guy said the tariffs are no longer available. We only have the debasement left for the high class restaurant goers. And then this one is about the open claw thing going on. Bro, have you tried CloudBot? It's so insane. A little bit, not much. What do you use it for? It's crazy, man. You can do anything with it. And he's like, okay, what are you doing with it? And he's like, you got to try it. And it's like, try it for what? Don't get left behind, man. So definitely a summation there as well of what's happening with the AI hype. Just this idea of don't get left behind, right?
Mm,
Is the narrative that you have pointed out earlier today as well, right? That's kind of the ethos around it all.
totally.
Couple more. This one was from Elon Musk himself. People giving OpenClaw root access to their entire life, handing over the AK-47 to the monkey. Essentially, here, mass destruction may ensue. And then this one was funny. Naval, we love Naval, but this was pretty good.
He's getting some hate though. Like his haters are growing by the day.
Interesting. Well, this statement
This
makes
might
it
be why.
possible. He says, if you're unwilling to defend your country in time of war, then you're a tourist, not a citizen. And he got some pretty spicy replies. Ryan said, see you on the front lines, Naval. How Naval felt typing this. And a few other ones that I won't say out loud, but I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah. That's a wild statement to say as someone who's like super, super rich.
Yeah, yep. Naval, you don't have to participate in that one, my brother. So just and probably past the, I don't know how old he is, but listen, brother, don't be volunteering me. You
Yeah,
know
that's
what
what
I
I'm saying,
mean?
bro. I don't want to go to war.
Let's see. So this one was just silly. He said, guys will pay $20 a month for an OF, but not for Claude. Buddy, you are subscribing to the wrong model.
He's big in the consumer app world too.
Okay.
Or just consumer product. I think his big thing was the Tabs chocolate.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where it was like this aphrodisiac
Oh,
chocolate.
so that's his space.
Yeah, it was. He really like modernized the mass like clipping strategy for ecom. So like he got people into a Discord and made them all affiliates, and then essentially because everyone would share their winners, it just increased the chances of everyone making winners. Do you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
It was like they were absurdly successful with that. I believe he's now
Wow.
exited, and what he's doing now is he's created a software where they will pursue people violating your IP for you.
Okay. I do see that. Yes. Yep. Okay. And for products, that's a pretty big deal. For physical products, he's doing it.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I'd imagine that's huge.
Yep. It's a big thing on Amazon and stuff like that. Yeah, that's very smart.
Yeah, super interesting. Going to be an increasingly large issue. But someone said when we went through those memes and we didn't know them, they're like, "Damn, y'all don't know ball." I'm like,
I
"Yeah,
don't.
we're not deep into that." But yeah, definitely. If we our memes person will hopefully know a lot more of those than we did.
Good health relationships. Keith, Ben, and Claude are all you need in life. All right. So with that, the only other thing to cover here is the community time, talking about the last episode. So this one didn't have a ton of comments, but there was a couple of things that I wanted to touch on. Matthew, we appreciate you pulling up, man. He said, LOL, halfway through the podcast and had the urge to type in the chat before the sad realization that I'm watching the replay. Oh, man. He said, big up, guys. Catch you on the next one, hopefully. Yeah, man.
Appreciate you.
Always appreciate you pulling up and taking the time to drop a comment, even though you couldn't join us. That's awesome.
So the live chat should be available on that one. So because I figured people would start asking for it, I've been not trimming the beginning because YouTube now removes the live chat if you do that. It didn't used to work like that. So on our older stuff, it used to keep the live chat, but now it gets rid of it.
Fascinating.
Yeah, super lame.
Yeah, that's a big deal. So Prince Andrew was actually stripped of his title, so he's no longer Prince Andrew. I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know if it was like before this that happened or during this that happened regarding his arrest. And then this guy made Heliofant made an interesting comment. He said, not gonna lie, as a developer who uses AI in my workflow and built software for years without it, Anthropic is clearing the giants in terms of AI. Claude is hands down the GOAT. I've uninstalled anything OpenAI, and Google stuff is all right other than Nano Banana for image gen, which is fantastic. China is dominating in terms of video generation. Random little companies are doing very impressive stuff for like voices and sound effects. I think picking out the winners might be possible. You just need to actually immerse yourself in the ecosystem, probably. Then again, there are future use cases that I can't possibly predict, which can change the landscape dramatically at any moment. And then the issue of the bubble, or not the bubble, of course. So I thought that was an interesting one.
Great
Just
comment.
thanked him for sharing. And yeah, so those were the couple of comments that I wanted to respond to there. There was also something that happened with the old prime minister of Norway today. Um, just I guess wanted to touch on it. He was kind of involved with some of the files that came out, and in particular, I think he ended up having a case filed against him for corruption, same way that kind of happened with Andrew. And he is in the hospital right now because he has attempted some form of self harm. So prayers to him and his family for all of that. And just wanted to point that out as some news that is technically happening in the world. We have leaders or previous leaders of departments of state being involved with these files, and it's causing some issues. On a good note, today's Thursday. No, it's Tuesday. And Thursday, we have an incredible guest coming up. We have on Spotify, we are Memes and Markets, and we are posting on Spotify. If you haven't noticed that. So if you're having to watch the replay, take the time, and even if you haven't watched the replay, if you could do us the hugest favor of coming over here and actually giving us a 5-star rating. I don't even think we've gotten any since the last time. So if you're here
messed up, man,
and you haven't done that, please do us the massive favor of giving us some responses on Spotify. As we mentioned throughout the pod today, we are actually making a couple of additions to our team. If you head over to our Twitter and you would like to excuse the misspelling here, please come down here, and if you're interested in this producer role, head content strategist and producer, click over here on that link, fill out this form, read this as well, please read it, fill out the form, and let us know that you're interested in this role, and we will be happy to have a conversation with you if we see anything that might be a fit. We're super excited about that. We'll get the Twitter and research analyst role out today as well. So if you're interested, be sure to give us a touch and give us a shout.
Love it, man. Love it. Great job on all that. And yeah, for Spotify too, we actually have a fun way to incentivize you guys to go over and do that. So Keith and I think this was a suggestion from someone else in the chat. It might have been Thomas. I can't remember who it was exactly, where they said that you guys Keith and Ben should do a combined playlist. And so we're gonna make a Memes and Markets playlist that is a combination of my favorite music, Keith's favorite music, and we're gonna release that, and it'll be public once we get to 100 Spotify reviews. So we're only, what is it, 40 away?
40 away.
41?
40 away, 41.
All right. So that's very doable, guys. If you want to see, I've already been collecting. I've been curating all of my liked songs, putting them in there, So
yes.
We're ready to cook. We're ready to cook. And I also am curious to see, I think it'll be fairly obvious whose is who, but like I would love for, maybe we ask like the Patreon or something, we like list, like who's.
Oh, yes.
That'd be super cool. See how many they get right. That'd be super cool. But yeah, that's it. The other job posting, like Keith said, will be live on Twitter for the writer role. So don't feel like you need to, like, just if you want to apply to both, go ahead, go apply to both. But yeah, we appreciate you guys a ton.
Yep. Fantastic. Thank you guys for another incredible time with you. Thanks for participating in the chat, being here live. If you're live, then you're alive. I'll tell you that right now.
It's all going to be Taylor Swift. How did you know, man? How did you know? No, I'm not a big Swiftie, but she does have some bangers. Like, I can't deny that. But it won't be on my list. But one other thing I guess we can probably say, because they're confirmed. Do you want to say who we have on Thursday, or should we leave it a surprise?
Let's do it. I mean, this time
they posted about it.
Okay, yeah. So if they don't pull up, hey.
Yeah. So tomorrow on Thursday we're having Charles Hoskinson on, the founder of Cardano. I believe he's the founder of Midnight. Not entirely sure. And so we were supposed to have him on before. He had a scheduling conflict, but this time his Twitter tweeted about him coming on.
Yeah.
So
they gave us some or Angry Crypto a retweet.
Yeah.
At the very minimum. So it's an acknowledgement.
Sorry. That's more accurate.
Of them coming through. So, and that was cool. Shout out to Angry Crypto. He took a clip from my live stream where I was talking about that and then posted it, and that's how it ended up making its way to Charles. So or to his Twitter at least.
Yeah. So shout out Angry Crypto. He made the post, pulled from Keith's stream, and then that's what was reposted. So thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, thank all of y'all for tuning in. We'll be live on Thursday, and we appreciate you guys.
Yep. He said no John McAfee. Yeah, we won't be able to get John McAfee on. I don't think, at least.
Who knows? Things could get crazy, but yeah. Is the angry uncle of the crypto world. Yeah. I'd say that's pretty accurate as of right now. But I think we'll be able to give him a conversation that pulls out like his more like hopefully fun side, and then I'm sure he'll have some angry moments, but I think that's just because he's very passionate about what he's doing.
Yeah, like he's always just really passionate, I would say, more than like angry.
I think that's true. I think people misconstrue that all the time, where they're like, if you're loud or if you're expressive, you're angry.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, why can't I be loud and expressive about shit that I love?
Right. 100%.
You know what I mean? But that's it. All right, guys. Do you have anything else, Keith?
Well, I'm just excited to see your starter story too, man. I can't wait for that.
Yeah, I have no clue, man. They literally said in the thing that I signed, they're like, you don't get any choice over the edits.
Fair enough. They do a good job with it. So.
They always do. Yeah. And they don't seem like bad guys, so I don't think they'll make me look too bad. But yeah, it was fun. It was like an hour of recording. Video probably like 15 minutes.
Wow. Very cool.
Cool. Well, thanks, guys. We'll see all of y'all on Thursday. Have an amazing week. Be the light that you want to see. And we will see all of you on Thursday.
Stay curious.
Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.